The local body elections are looming, but interest in them, particularly from potential candidates, appears to be low. I'm joined by MBR columnist Bridget Morton. So why are so few people interested in standing for their local council?
So we've had an ongoing issue about people being disenfranchised from local body elections and from the local bodies themselves. But I think we have a particular issue around the election that we're currently going through. Last Friday, the nominations closed and many councils and community boards had only enough candidates to fill the spots or not even enough at all.
But I mean, you know, the argument around Three Waters reform, and a lot of the councils have said their ratepayers are outraged that they're going to be taken from it. And so you got a sense that maybe there'd be more interest. Oh, let's get on the council, let's fight.
Well, it's unclear how many say, Three Water candidates are running, that people that are enfranchised. But also you've got to remember that with the Three Waters issue, it's not actually a local government issue, it is a central government issue. You actually need to change the government at a central level to change the Three Waters proposal.
But will the lack of people going on to council flow through, though, to general elections? Because often, it's a stepping stone for people. They put their foot in, do local politics first for a little while, and then they put their hand up to be an MP or try to be an MP somewhere. I mean, is there a danger that it flows on to national politics?
I think there's never a shortage really in national politics of people that are willing to put their hands up. There's something more about Parliament being seen as a much more attractive place to be than the local, say, Timaru council chambers, for instance. And so people do want to be here. So I don't think that changes. But you're right that it's a little bit of a stepping stone in terms of being a school for people to learn about those accountability and governance measures to then step up into Parliament. And I think that can be really valuable. And it does mean you may lose some of that if people aren't wanting to do that step in between.
I mean, are voters as much to blame too, though? Because, our turnouts at local body elections are pretty low, aren't they?
Yeah, I think voters are to blame, use it or lose it type approach. But I do think there's some things that could be done to encourage people to vote more. One of them would be, I think, looking at that postal system. How many people are well-intended, get the envelope, put it on the kitchen bench, goes, yep, I must look at that, must fill it out, and then the date just goes by. So whether or not you can create a little bit more, let's say, ceremony or occasion around voting like we do with polling booths to actually get people, as they go down to get their lunch on their way, during work hours, they pop by and vote.
But why is it? Because in a sense, local body politics and the decisions that local bodies make can have a more immediate impact on our lives on a daily basis, perhaps, than what central government does. In my home, if I'm going to do something and extend and what have you, I've got to go to the council for permission, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so you think people would be more engaged at that level. But I think what we're seeing is people feeling like the councils aren't really engaged with what's happening locally. If I think about here in Wellington, we've got a huge number of water issues and a huge number of slips in the last couple of days with the huge amount of rain. There is road cones everywhere. That doesn't seem to be something that the council are prioritising. They just see the council in the news talking about climate change and bike paths and things that don't have an immediate effect on somebody's ability to, say, get to work or not.
And I think in your column too, you mentioned the vitriol that councillors and candidates might face. How much is that a turn-off now at that local body level?
Oh, I think without a doubt many people just can't be bothered with that level of vitriol. One of the contrasts I make is previously if you're a local body politician, generally people in your sort of small area would know who you are. You might get some questions down at the pub, but generally you're not really getting any pressure on, social media or anything else. Now you can get vitriol from, across the country or across the world for a decision that you may or may not make. And I think that puts a lot of people off actually going, compared to the amount of time that I need to put in this and the amount that I get paid, is it worth it for all that heartache?
And I guess if we compare it with being an MP, there's perhaps not the same esteem about being the local councillor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and particularly at the moment, there's actually, more and more pressure being saying that our councils haven't been working well, they're not attracting good quality candidates. So there's a bit of, association that they're actually not even like a glamorous place to be, but even, a sort of a bad reputation to carry with you as being a local councillor.
So what can we do to change it?
Well, I think we've got a review of local government later on this year. There's a bit of an open secret, I think, around here that it's really focused on amalgamation. It may be right that we do need to amalgamate some councils, but actually I think we need to look a bit more deep-rooted and go, actually, what is the quality of the candidates that are attracted? Can we run elections in a way that make it more competitive? Do we need to look at what the benefits package is for councillors? Is it actually reflecting what their role is now? And I think also looking at a really strong definition about what their roles and responsibilities are. A little bit more focus, I think, on roads, rubbish and recycling would actually have councils delivering real outcomes rather than getting focused on some things that are actually much more of a national issue.
But councillors, I think, or all politicians, they love to open things, new halls, swimming pools. And isn't that one of the things that's diverted attention away from roads and the pipes under the ground?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think one of the things you're always going to have with an electoral cycle is people wanting to look like they've got achievements that people can see. They can take the photo, as you say, of the ribbon cutting ceremony within that electoral cycle, and that's always going to be a problem. We have some mechanisms within the Local Government Act that make sure that councils do set out 10-year plans that they have to adhere to. Some changes to the Resource Management Act that means that they have to, do much more around housing affordability and how that runs out over the next 10 to 20 years. So I think there is mechanisms that we can put in a statutory place to sort of stop that short-termism, populist type focus.
Does there need to be more very clear differentiation, though, then between what local councils are responsible for compared with what central government's responsible for? I mean,
Yes.
we still have local councils, for instance, doing social housing.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think we do need to have a bit more of that focus because really what you're doing is just applying multiple levels of bureaucracy to a simple process. That hopefully, in a dream world, the RMA reform will focus and change some of that. I'm not optimistic under the current government that was going to achieve, but that is one area where they could absolutely streamline it to make it really clear this is what councils decide on, these are the settings that National decides on.
Bridget Morton, thank you for your time.